Hi, this is Astrological Winds channel. Your host, Matt Lawton here, looking at the week ahead for the week of January 13th, 2020. And this is week 2 of that very intense apex energy of the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction with Ceres and the Sun and Mercury going right over those three and conjuncting them too, making them very acute in their energy for these 2 weeks in particular. And on Monday, today, the Sun actually makes its exact conjunctions to Saturn and Pluto, and so does Ceres. And you think about the Sun is all about our life, and part of it is also our spiritual journey in our life. And when we look at like Saturn and Pluto together, Saturn's all about taking responsibility about things. And I think when we look at it on a deeper personal level, which can get spiritual, it's like taking responsibility for where we are at now. And one of the things about astrology that there can be a lot of confusion about is the free will versus fate argument. And to me, it's a relatively simple thing. The energy that the planets are making in their aspects together and in the signs that they're in is the form of what any kind of actions or events that occur will fall into the form of that energy. So yes, you can say there's some fate involved in the sense of like, this is the energies we're working with. And in the Saturn and Pluto, there's this energy of like restriction and deep change coming from like having to transform ourselves because of the kinds of restrictions on us. And but as far as fate versus free will, what we have to remember is that, yes, there's this form, but there's literally an infinite amount of ways that form can manifest into what is the matter. And that is where free will comes into play. That is where the decisions that we make in any given situation will manifest in that energy form. So there's so many different ways. Like I said, there's literally an infinite amount of ways that planetary energies can manifest in our lives. And that is where our free will choices come in to effect. So what I want to say here is that any situation that comes up, including this very tough Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn with Ceres in it and now the Sun, is we get to choose individually how we're going to respond to any situation, any person. And we can decide to choose in a different way, in a more positive way, no matter what the spin is on that situation. And I think that like when you get into astrology, when someone is asking an astrologer or doing research on astrology, they've already like taken a step on this spiritual journey part of life, whether they know it or not. They're looking for some meaning in their life. And ultimately, everyone is doing that. Everyone is out there looking for meaning in their life, whether they know it or not, whether they're ignorant or not, whether they're doing very awkward things while they're doing that, you know. And I think that we can kind of take up that attitude with ourselves and knowing that with others too, then we become more self-responsible about our choices and these free will choices that we make. And, you know, my point is that we can choose then, do we want to look at it as a glass half empty and the negative side of the Pluto, Saturn, or do we want to look at it as glass half full, the positive side? Can we find the good thing in any situation for ourselves and for others? Because ultimately we choose that. No one can make you feel a certain way. You choose that. And it's hard sometimes when we're in really intense situations with people who are purposely pressing our buttons to not place the blame of how we choose to react upon them. But ultimately, they're looking for some meaning too. And yes, they're doing it in a very awkward way. Yes, they may be projecting their issues on you. And when you do choose to be self-aware and to grow, the universe is going to test you. So it's going to actually bring you people that are going to challenge that. It's going to bring you circumstances that are going to challenge the validity of where you're trying to transform to. You know, the South Node right now is in Capricorn, the North Node's in Cancer, and I think, you know, a lot of that is meaning we really need to connect it more with our emotional side, our instinctual side, rather than so much our intellectual side. And so we can choose how we react to anyone in any given situation. And we can choose how to react to the situation we're in personally and the world is in now, this really intense energy of the Capricorn conjunction of these outer planets. A few other things that I'd like to mention and going on this week. So besides the continuation of that energy, which is still at a peak, and it's going to start to ease off a little as the week goes on. But like I said, as far as Jupiter and the Saturn conjunction, it's an 18-year cycle, and the Pluto-Saturn conjunction is even a longer cycle. So these things are going to be running in the background all year long. Now this week, we get a couple other shifts. One is Venus going into Pisces, where it's actually exalted, so it's very happy. Venus, the goddess, is very happy in Pisces, and this is where we're able to connect more with our unconditional love side, to actually have a lot of sensitivity to the people around us and be willing to be helpful to them. It does get us a little more sensitive for sure, so it's good to choose people who won't overtax our sensitivity level. It's a more passive, romantic, quieter, amorous, even artistic kind of Venus energy going on. So like wants to communicate like higher love through artistic forms, through more holistic forms of communication rather than just words. And then later in the week, Mercury goes into Aquarius, so we're going to start to shift out of some of the heavier Capricorn energy into Aquarius energy, which is still ruled by Saturn, but also has a lot of Uranian energy pushing in. So this is where we'll be able to, start to make some changes to the systems that we have. But there is going to be a lot of high strung energy from Mercury too. As it crosses into Aquarius, it's going to lock into a square with Uranus and Taurus later in the week. And that once again can get, the pace of activity can really pick up and get our nervous systems really overreacting, full of like nervous, edgy energy, but also can give a lot of brilliant ideas that we'll be wanting to share with others. It's just kind of like a very edgy, scattered energy. And the sun will be going to a square with Uranus next week. So that energy is going to kind of build up as the weekend gets closer and spill over into next week. But we are still dealing mainly with this Capricorn conjunction this week. And I think really with the sun there, it's all of us needing to take more responsibility about our choices, what we need to eliminate from our lives, keep a positive attitude about not only ourselves and our lives, but the way we react to others and the situations around us. All right, until next time, this is Matt Lawton on the Astrological Winds channel, signing off.